The full Google Stadia launch release list lineup.
Full is not the word I'd use.
Category library is out there.
Yeah. So this is is this their day one lineup for next week? Is that what it is? Okay.
Yes, they've announced the full list of 12 games that will be available on November 19th when the whole thing launches. Here it is. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is what they tested with.
Yeah.
Was that last year? Last fall?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Destiny 2, The Collection, which I assume is just all of Destiny 2.
Yeah, and that's something where because everyone getting in this at this stage will
that game.
Right, because they will be Stadia Pro members, and Stadia Pro members get Destiny the Collection, which is, as I understand it, it's Destiny plus Shadowkeep, and it's the stuff.
Yeah. Something called Gylt, G-Y-L-T.
That's like the one exclusive game
they
have.
It looks like that's launch. Oh, that's the Tequila Works
Yeah.
game. Set in a creepy and melancholic world.
Looks pretty good.
Just Dance 2020.
Okay,
Kine.
that's a rhythm game. It will have timing windows.
Yeah, Kine, just a kind of recent puzzle game. Mortal Kombat 11, Red Dead Redemption 2, Samurai Showdown, Thumper.
Okay,
and
2 fighting games, 2 rhythm games,
and count 'em 3 Tomb Raider games.
Good lord.
Tomb Raider.
All right, let me count. Okay, Tomb Raider 2. Tomb Raider Cart, and Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness.
Angel of Darkness.
Yeah.
Okay. Damn.
Yeah,
you got it.
Yeah, that's 3.
Nailed it. Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and A Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Wow. So really, just one game that we're looking at here that we haven't played.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It's a saga.
I'm talking about Guilt. Or Guilty.
You're talking about new games.
Yeah. In terms of new games, that is the
Guilt is the single unreleased game that will be part of the launch. They put out. There's another list that
they have another. Yeah, there's another list of games that'll still come out in 2019.
Yeah, by the end of the year, it's got Borderlands 3 on it, Darksiders Genesis, Final Fantasy 15, Grid, Metro Exodus, Rage 2, Trials Rising, Wolfenstein Youngblood, stuff like that.
I really would be curious to know what reason would there be for a game that already exists on other platforms to not just be there? Like that's something I'd like to know what work they need to do to a game. If that's what it is, or if this is purely business related.
Probably. I mean, you have to port the game to whatever their custom server.
Like that's the thing. Do you like I?
Yeah, I mean, I think that thing is Linux based.
Yeah, there's
exactly easy.
Well, that's true. I mean, I'm sure. Yes, there's some work around the edges in terms of okay. This game came out on Steam, so we need to rip out Steamworks and put in Stadia Works.
Well, it could be a lot more low level.
But that's the thing, is I want to know, like, is there a lot of low level work that has to be done? Because a lot of their talk, when we were talking Doom back at E3, was like, hey, it was really easy for us to get this up and running.
I would bet that's because that game already had a Vulkan renderer.
Yeah.
Whereas
some of these games certainly don't.
A lot of these games were just built on DirectX.
Right.
Had to be ported more thoroughly.
I wonder if that's the work.
Yeah, that's just a guess. But
because isn't PS4 is Vulkan based, isn't it? Like the render is like
they've got their own custom graphics libraries that I think are also OpenGL based.
Yeah.
But like Red Dead just came out last week and has a Vulkan renderer in it, so that's on this list. And that's a current game.
Okay.
I'm sure there's more to it than that.
Yeah, I'm not saying there's not. I'm just saying I would like to know what is the more to it than that. And why it didn't get done sooner, I guess, in some cases. But I wonder if Borderlands 3 specifically, maybe that's a case of hey, they're on Epic for X amount of days, and maybe they can't be there day and date.
Also, just a bunch of business deals.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Is there just a bunch of weird business around?
How much resources Google's working with on that stuff?
Yeah.
Anyway,
they got to save some bangers for later, man.
Because there's a lot more games there are more games that they showed back when they first started talking about a list of games that aren't even necessarily accounted for in this 2019 list. I don't think. Like Breakpoint was the one game where they showed and said hey, there's going to be a Stadia exclusive version of this that you can see your co-op players doing co-op stuff. Is this just a video feed of their gameplay showing on your screen?
Right.
Which it's an interesting idea.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm it's I'm curious to see if that matters. Now we know that Breakpoint is not a great game, so that's kind of makes that a little less interesting. But I'd still be curious to see what that implementation looks like, and if it's something that differentiates it enough to where you're like, okay, I would like to see a good game do something like this. Or if you just look at it and go like, yep, I can sure spectate their feed while I play this game. It doesn't matter.
In this game that nobody seems to really like much.
Right, yeah.
And you're still buying these individual titles, right?
Yeah, they said pricing with any of this stuff because that's the kind of the...
Because I keep thinking like, oh, you buy into Stadia, pay the subscription, but it's not.
That is, you get Destiny, and that's it.
Wow. Not even Guilt?
No.
What about one of the 3 Tomb Raiders?
No, I don't think so. But that was the thing they said early on, is that like, hey, anyone that signs up for Stadia Pro will get Destiny.
Yeah.
And there'll be more free games to come, blah, blah, blah. You know,
sure, maybe like a monthly or every other month type
who
thing.
knows? But they're selling games. So yeah, so that's kind of the catch. It's you can't import your Steam library. You can't take, hey, I've already bought these games elsewhere,
right,
and bring it into Stadia,
right.
And also like these games are not cross play. So like
I was gonna ask, so like with Destiny, can you transfer your?
They've got all the character linking stuff.
Okay,
they've had that stuff up for or listed for some time.
Sure.
So you can bring your Destiny character into the Stadia version of Destiny.
Yeah,
from the looks of things, but. It's not going to be you playing with Steam players.
Right.
I think they said you're going to be playing with other Stadia players.
So the same thing with those fighting games then, right? You'd be put into a pool with other Stadia players?
Yeah, I would assume that's exactly how that would work.
Weird.
Stadia on Stadia violence.
Great.
Which then relies a lot on Stadia,
right,
taking off or being successful enough to where you can find people playing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that stuff's interesting, and I'm really curious to see how it all goes once that thing launches.
Yeah, especially because you're not downloading anything. I feel people may be put off by paying full price when they're not even.
Well, that's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Like, if they're going to come out and say like, "Hey, all 3 of these Tomb Raider games are $60 a pop," like.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like they've announced specific pricing for games.
Okay.
This Verge story I'm looking at says, Google tells us you should expect to buy, not rent cloud games for the same retail prices you'd find on other platforms like PlayStation Network and Xbox Live.
I'd rather rent. God.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
yeah,
you can draw some conclusions from that.
So, okay. If they're going to say, here's Mortal Kombat 11 for $60 and you play it through a video stream, the conversation becomes, is that more convenient for me than owning a device that can play that game natively?
Let me see what it costs on Steam right now.
Well, it costs, like let's start from zero here, because
it is still $60.
It costs you buying a PlayStation 4.
Oh, I know.
Or
I'm just saying. I'm
Xbox.
just trying to figure out what they're likely to price that game at.
Yeah. Presumably that'd be $60, and then do they include a season pass? Then you got to buy DLC.
Right.
There's something real broken, and maybe it shouldn't be this way, and maybe someday if these services take off, it won't feel this way.
Mm-hmm.
But right in here, right now, the idea of buying DLC for a game that I can only play in a video feed via the cloud seems broken and bad. Mm-hmm. Like, that doesn't sound like something I want to do.
Yeah.
But again, like if the consumer that they're targeting, and Microsoft would have this differently, right? Because there's already people buying Xbox games, and their thing seems presumably vastly different than this in terms of like that bit. Presumably then the typical Google Stadia player would be someone who isn't playing games anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, okay, well, yeah, if I can use my Pixel to play Mortal Kombat 11 now, of course I'm going to do that. Are there enough of those people?
Nope.
Yeah.
I really don't think so.
I don't, like, it's...
Paying full price, definitely, because like
I'm trying to like jump through like do the mental math or jump through the hoops here of like, who is that person? How many of them exist?
Yeah.
And it's always the thing of like, oh man, if we could get everyone who owns a phone or a television or whatever to be able to play these games, that'd be huge. Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense to me. But like the here and now 2019, sign up for this service and then pay $60 for a game that they might just snatch away from you at a moment's notice.
Right. Because then at that point, I could kind of see someone wanting to get through the story of the new Mortal Kombat game of like, oh, like I don't have anything to experience the story. But then at that point, you could just watch the story on like YouTube at that point.
Yeah. I mean, whatever. I love lewds, so I like to play my stories.
Yeah.
You like free agency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Either way,
even if it's an illusion, the illusion of free agency is still better than pushing play on a thing and sitting back.
I don't see this gaining any kind of real traction until there's a Game Pass style thing.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Can I let me jump in here real quick? Can you tell me what this $10 a month premium service is?
It's higher quality video streaming.
Okay.
I think you only get the 4K HDR if you're a pro. Well, also, like, I think they're only letting people that sign up for pro play this year. Like, if you bought the Premier Edition or Founders Edition or whatever, the hardware, the only way to get in right now this year will be to buy the package they're selling.
Yeah,
you won't just be able to go to a browser and say, sign me up. That's next year.
Okay, that thing comes with 3 months of the premium.
Exactly.
The premium service.
Yes.
And then that's clear what you're getting from that exactly.
I think it's higher quality.
Yeah.
One of the things on their list was choose your name early.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, the pro stuff is supposed to come with some games, which is right now it's Destiny.
Yep.
Higher quality.
I just landed on store.google.com and there's a gigantic full page Destiny animation that spawns when you go to the Stadia.
Yeah, but like the Stadia base versus Stadia Pro stuff is they did kind of enumerate what that stuff looked like.
I'm trying to find an actual breakdown of what specifically you get for this $10 a month. But it's not games, just to be clear. Like, you're not getting any games to play for $10 a month, right? Oh, okay. Being part of that service.
Yeah, being part of the service is like Destiny 2 is part of the I think you can buy Destiny separately.
I see.
On that service, for that theoretical time when they're letting people just get on the service and play.
Oh, you only get stereo surround with the free Stadia base. To get 5.1, you have to be on
so it's audio video quality stuff.
The Pro plan.
Yeah. Which I think makes sense. Like, like that, if that becomes something that's like, okay, you're not paying a monthly fee for it at all, and you're just buying a game because you want to play it on your phone or your smart TV or something like that, like, I could see that maybe happening. But yeah, again, it becomes like how many people is that?
Yeah.
That fit in that bucket. And, I'm sure like someone would tell you, well, it's millions because it's anyone who owns a phone or a television. And you're like, okay, yes, sure. But really though, realistically near term, like, is that how it happens? Like, sure, someday. Yeah, absolutely. Of course. Like, everyone should be able to play games anywhere. It'd be great to get to a point where we don't need to like put hardware under our televisions. And yeah, if we could just get to some far-flung future where it's just like I can snap my fucking fingers and make a game appear anywhere I damn well please. Why not, man? Again, I love lewds. Put them everywhere.
So I hear.
But when I think about like especially in terms of like them going like you got to get your name early and what's up, gamer? Like their whole pitch seems focused on, and maybe it's because we're the ones hearing their pitch, and we're deep in this game. It's not for us. Probably, it's like it's literally own every single one of the games they'll be selling on day one, and in some cases have for years. Actually, that's not true. I don't own Just Dance 2020, and I don't own Guilt because that's
guess
exclusive.
What?
So
Stadia is here.
Finally,
now you can play Just Dance,
and I can play it anywhere.
Real quick, just for the sake of completeness, for this, so the $10 a month thing, they're calling Pro, Stadia Pro. I thought it was premium, but it looks like they're going the kind of PlayStation Plus route, because it actually said, like on the kind of bullet point list, one of the things it says is additional free games released regularly.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know how many that is or how regular.
It didn't seem like they knew, that was that detail when people dug into it back when they first started announcing this stuff. It sounded just really ambiguous.
Yeah. So you will get some games for that membership, and then they're also going to give you discounts on game purchases, like you get with a Plus, for example.
Okay.
So that's kind of the full offering.
Yeah, if those discounts are like pretty substantial, and like maybe you start to see a path there.
Yeah.
It's just the whole thing seems so murky.
Yeah. Like this just more and more. This just feels like sort of a kind of paid test launch.
Yeah,
kind of.
It feels murky in the sense that just like someone's got to start it somewhere.
Yeah,
might as well start now, I guess. But this service isn't real until next year, and even then, we'll see. I guess.
Yeah.
But like I said, the next 12 months of video games are going to be fucking wild.
Yeah.
So
I just had a thought since we're talking about
all right.
since we're talking about
Buckle up.
new platforms that aren't fully defined yet. Anyway, so Microsoft's got xCloud.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like the right thing for them to do is to make that a value add on what they already offer.
Right.
Meaning, like, let's find a way to unify the game purchase so you buy it once and then you can play it at home off of your home Xbox.
Right.
Or on any Windows laptop you've got.
Yeah.
Or you can stream it from our thing.
Yeah.
Because you own this game. We know you own this game. We're just going to give you that convenience option of if you're off in a hotel somewhere with a phone, you can stream this same game to your phone.
Exactly.
That lines up
That's
with their usual MO. Yeah.
They haven't necessarily said that that's the plan, but
Right.
like
I'm just guessing. I'm just speculating.
You assume that has to be the plan,
especially looking at the way that we and everybody else is reacting to the idea of paying full price to Google for games that you can only stream.
Right.
It seems like the only way people are really going to accept this is if they also have kind of a local fallback, right?
Yeah, and also if you think about the stuff they've talked about with xCloud, the two versions of it being like the paid kind of server hosted thing, but then also like, oh, well, you can just use your own Xbox.
Right.
As a streaming server, which I assume is not going to be as
and
it depends on your upstream. But
and if you listen to just like what Phil Spencer told us at E3, like it sounds like they want to do right by the customer and not make people feel like they have to buy multiple versions of the same game.
One would assume.
Stream it or play it at home or whatever.
Right.
All right, all of that taken as a given. Do you think that is a way for them to backdoor their way back into the thing they wanted to do with the Xbox One, which is making every physical game purchase a unique digital license?
Yes.
Because that's the way that you verify ownership and let people stream the game, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, does that let them get right back to where they wanted to be?
I guess so.
One generation ago, where it's like, because you can't just have a disc and have somebody put the disc in for 5 seconds and then say they own the game.
Or you end up in a situation, and I guess you end up this way already, right? Because if you buy Gears of War 5 on a disc, you can't play it on PC, right?
Right.
So they've already created a situation where the physical versions of the games are like less effective than the digital versions.
I mean, there's still room to differentiate there because I mean the plan originally back then was you couldn't even run the game off the disc, right?
Yes,
if you didn't own it on your account, the disc was worthless,
right?
Like maybe in this scenario, like
it was like DivX,
right?
It's like get the disc, throw the fucking disc away, I guess. Right? Yeah.
Maybe in this scenario, the unique code in the box is just for the streaming license, and you can still give the disc to somebody else, and they can play it. I don't know if there
are ways. Yeah, there are ways to authenticate that are different.
Maybe it's not as overbearing as it was, but it seems like a way to get back to that kind of one copy, one digital license sort of.
Well, that was always the feeling.
That's where everybody's been trying to get to for the last 8 years.
Digital purchases are way up.
Maybe we've just gotten to that point.
GameStop is not, doing amazing.
Yeah.
Like that was something that Microsoft just was early with it, and it was something that was going to kind of have, I think Sony just kind of was content to sit back and let it happen on its own.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that everyone, I think, came to, like, whether they meant to or not, came to some kind of consensus on over the course of this generation was like all of EA's online pass $10 shit. There's all these different attempts to try to do that when all they really needed to do was just sit back and let it happen. And just say like, oh, well, actually, the convenience of digital purchasing is going to eventually result in this happening anyway.
Yeah. I think another key component of that was that sales caught up online. Like Sony in particular has been very good about doing some crazy deep sales on like some pretty big games. Like you can, if you're willing to be patient,
right?
Like you can get most big games for $10 to $20 if you keep your eyes open.
Yeah, with exceptions. I mean, like, Call of Duty goes on sale.
There's the Activisions and Nintendos.
Yeah,
of course. But but I guess the point is like you're not losing that much these days now, buying digitally, unless you've got internet speed issions or caps and stuff like that. It's not perfect.
And also the ability to share a game with a friend.
Yeah,
like those sorts of things that they're a lot easier to do with a disc and that sort of stuff. Like, there's something is lost in that shuffle, but the convenience gained. I think consumers have voted and said we take the convenience of digital over physical discs.
Yeah, and it feels like it hasn't been that long because I feel like for the first 2-3 years of these consoles, you still at least 2-3 years, you still kept hearing like physical sales are still the bulk of the sales.
Right. Yeah,
like digital is more meaningful, but it's not. It didn't happen overnight, but then all of a sudden, just in the last 2-3 years, it was like,
like this is where it's happening.
Now it's here finally.
Yeah, well, like if you think about it, like game-specific retail isn't doing gangbusters, like, and as a result, like you haven't seen the big, splashy midnight launch stuff the same way you used to back in the 360 days. And I kind of miss some of that stuff. The pomp of it all was ridiculous. You know, fucking here's Ozzy Osbourne on the fucking top of the theater because Madden's coming out. Just like stupid shit. Stupid shit.
Everybody is just a prepper out there,
yeah,
keeping to themselves.
Exactly.
Now we got to get them all back on the network.
We've got to figure out a way to unite these people and get them in some kind of same physical space. I'm tired of talking to all these holograms.
Your Sam GameStop Strand.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. That's probably enough about emerging platforms for 1 week.
Yeah, it's not going to be long.
Yeah,
but yeah, like you're right. Like, you know, there will be discs next generation, but will they?
Yeah, what does the license look like around those?
I always felt that you could do like, hey, here's a disc and a serial number in the box, and all the disc will do is install the game if someone else gets their hands on it, but they'll still have to buy a serial number to authenticate or something like that.
Yeah, that was basically the Microsoft plan to begin with.
Because like all the discs do this generation is install the game and then act as a key when they're in the drive. Like nothing runs off the disc.
Not only that, but like so many games launch with missing features and like or even if the features are there, like there might be bad performance or like there's almost always some update by launch day that you need to install to get like kind of quote unquote the shipping game experience.
Right.
So like what good is a disc on some level at this point?
And especially as more and more games go online, you could make an argument. Like I wonder how many cases of like a game becoming a live game or a game requiring to be online for server checks and that sort of stuff. How many of those were legit 100% the game design demands that we do this? This type of game could not be done otherwise versus, hey, you know, for business reasons, this actually works out really well to require this online server check because we're trying to sell microtransactions. We're trying to get everybody in the shared world, or just, hey, like this disk is useless because this server might have gotten shut down, and you know, like that sort of thing.
Remember the backlash to the Diablo 3 always online stuff?
Right.
And like that's every game now.
Yeah.
Nobody bats an eye anymore. Like that just kind of happened.
Yeah.
And you know, I think technology and design are going to move forward, and I think that there have been experiences over the course of this generation that I appreciate enough to warrant, like, yes, you know, put me on the internet all the time. I'm on there anyway, so it's convenient for me. It doesn't make a difference for me. Some people it certainly does, but like there've been plenty of games that have been like, oh, you know, like I have loved playing this, you know, like Destiny or something like that, the always online nature of it. And, you know, plenty of PC games over the course of the years, you know, that made that feel worthwhile. It didn't feel like oh man, I can't believe that they are forcing me to do this. It was more like, oh no, this is how this game is played. It wouldn't make sense for it to not be on the internet. It would be pointless. Or I could, you know, I guess I could play this initial campaign, but like, you know, that's just not how it is anymore. So yeah, the live game stuff, I get, you know, some people fucking hate it and think that it's ruining games and all this other stuff. I think it's ruining or you know, it's making the old way of doing games obsolete, and some people are not going to be down with that. But this shit is always going to move forward, whether it's a business decision or design or some marriage of the two. Like that's just how it goes. It's how it's always gone.
Yeah. I mean, I think the places it gets the ugliest is with something like a Dragon Age 4, right? Where like this is a like fairly long-running offline single-player RPG that you hear is now being mandated to support some kind of ongoing.
Well, is that a mandate or is that a, you know, hey, this is the game we want to make?
Yeah, well,
I think different people would have different stories based on, you know, like, you know, the accounts were not necessarily that EA went to BioWare and demanded Anthem.
Yeah.
It's that BioWare came up with Anthem. They wanted to make that type of game.
Sure.
Look where it got them, you know, but there's nothing inherently wrong with, hey, we've got this game that connects to the internet. I think the way it's implemented in Anthem is poor.
Yeah.
Like, here's this social space that you never see another human player.
Sure.
Like that's yeah. Ooh. I don't want to talk about Anthem anymore.
No.
And hopefully neither does anyone at BioWare who is working on Dragon Age.
Yeah.
You know, you would then presume, because they said Dragon Age was what, 2021?
22 or something like that, fiscal year 2022 or something like that.
Who knows what we'll be even thinking about by then. Yeah. That's crazy. But that's long enough that like the idea of Dragon Age being kind of a quick flip of Anthem structure and Anthem concepts set in a different setting.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think maybe it's probably not that anymore. And that's why it's so far out.
I mean, I think there is a separate conversation that could be had about the, let's say, behavioral patterns that are encouraged by even what are considered to be good live service games. As somebody who plays a lot of Destiny,
you're right.
Like, that is a different conversation entirely.
I mean, that's the World of Warcraft. Someone was it did Vice run this story about World of Warcraft Classic and a lot of the stories around it of players being afraid of it?
Yeah.
Ultra
yes.
David.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Patrick wrote that story if I remember right. I could be wrong.
Like thinking back to what their life was like when WoW was big the first time,
and
knowing what might befall them if they get back into it.
Exactly. Yeah. Like that's been games for a very long time. It's just now it's all games. And that's the kind of the sad part, I guess, right? I don't know. It used to be a lot easier just to play a ton of different games. And now so many of them are like
so demanding of your time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, you better come back and do your dailies. You better come back and do this. And oh, your friends are here and your friends are everywhere. It's
this event's only 1 week long. If you want to get the cool thing, you better do it now.
And even games like Borderlands that, announced as like, oh, this is a 4-player game. No, we're not making a live service game. It's like, no, well, you still have seasonal events. Like, you're still doing things to try to have a longer tail on the time people play your game. And of course they do. They should. In a lot of cases, those are enriching the games and making them better. But everyone's doing it, and there's only so many hours in the day. And it's fucking weird now.
Right.
Like coming back to Destiny for Shadowkeep and seeing that it had a fucking battle pass.
Yeah.
It's just fucking weird.
Kind of.
And I don't think it's bad. I don't think the way they implement it is necessarily bad. It's just in the context of now there's 9 different games that I'm sort of into to all the way into that have something resembling a battle pass.
That is the actual
what
problem.
The fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm not leveling up the and just
you got to pick like one.
Yeah.
Or drive yourself insane.
Or just walk away from that shit.
It's
I'm fine dipping back into a game like Destiny when there's like a significant chunk of new content to see, and then being like, cool, I'm done. And I think that's the thing that I was maybe bad at earlier in this generation. It was like, oh, I got to stay on top of all this shit, and it was just terrible. It's just a bad time. But now that every game is doing it, eventually something's got to give. And for me, it was just like, all right, I just don't care. I don't care about the long tail of your live game anymore, unless I happen to be into that game. When they come back, we get press releases every day for like, oh, the new update for this game's coming along. And I'm just like, I don't even know what the fuck game that is anymore. Yeah. That's a game's a year and a half old. I didn't play it then. I'm like, hey man, here's what's up with Smite. I'm like, I don't fucking care.
18 different Halloween events.
I barely, right, exactly. Like everyone's got their seasonal thing happening all the same time and all the, yeah, man. It's fucking crazy. But also there is a player base that is very much into that shit.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know, like whatever. We could talk about it forever, but I think a lot about the popularity of World of Warcraft and what that did for game coverage and EverQuest to a certain extent, obviously, but like the World of Warcraft was the first time when it felt like GameSpot as a staff, even though we had a lot of people who were playing the shit out of that game, were kind of no longer equipped to cover it because so many sites had sprung up devoted to World of Warcraft that it was like, well, we can't, we obviously more people read this than read most of those sites combined.
Sure.
And I don't know if that's the case anymore. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But it was that feeling of just like, we don't have a staff size to dedicate a person to every single game that comes along like this. And you think about, that was just World of Warcraft and a couple of other MMOs. Think about how it is now.
Yeah.
And the idea of like, okay, are you going to have someone who's like going to routinely check back in on
Dota and League and
right, or Breakpoint.
It's not Warframe.
It's not
hey, something happened for Wildlands. Yeah, Warframe.
Yeah, it's not even like offbeat free to play PC games anymore. It's like every major release from every major publisher now.
Yeah, and the cottage industry of reporting on Fortnite.
Yeah.
and SEOing your Fortnite shit to make sure that they're coming to you to figure out what the boxes or puzzle pieces, whatever's in Fortnite this season. What does it mean?
Are you saying that Thoughtbot was the harbinger of the demise of
Yes.
the old style of games coverage?
Yes.
Pretty much?
Yes.
Yeah. That's basically,
Yeah.
basically.
Wowhead killed it all.
Yeah, wow. Wowhead was the final nail in the coffin.
Well, didn't Wowhead become Curse, or was that
I think Curse bought Wowhead, if I
Okay.
remember. I remember the day, or the day that I found Wowhead, at least.
Yeah.
And it was it was so much better.
Yeah.
Such a cleaner design. But yeah, like I remember like back in around that time frame, like the idea of saying another word professionally about a game after it was reviewed and out seemed insane.
Yeah.
It's like, the review's up. Like, that game's out. Why would we ever talk about it again?
We're done with that game on day one.
Yeah.
And the game guide's here and finished.
Yeah.
Wrap it up, man.
Like, you come to our site the day this game's out, you were going to get everything you will ever need to know about it.
Yep. Where gamers go to know.
Move on to the next game.
And yes, that was always the fun thing on the review side, is like the week of release, people would start complaining about a review and it'd be like, dude, I've fucking been I've played 2 games since then.
That's
like,
kind of
I don't even give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like Death Stranding's like a weird throwback to that in
totally.
a weird way. I'm just like, now there's all this discourse. And I'm like, who cares?
I'm like most of the way through another game right now, and like I can barely
Yeah.
keep up with people kind of getting through the early parts of that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
How that stuff is gone.
Evolving, yeah.
Yep. Next year is going to be wild.
Yeah.